Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan, and today we're here to talk about the Challenge All Stars 4 episodes 1 and 2. After all this time, we find the season's finally here. I'm joined by my lovely co-host. We have the Southern Luke Muncie,
What's up, guys?
the Vermontian Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone.
All Stars 4, it's finally here. Was it worth the wait?
So far,
I mean, it was definitely worth the wait. I can still contest that the wait was not necessary, but I'm glad it's finally here.
yeah. We were supposed to get in October, by the way. That leaked episode on Paramount Plus, if you heard about that, it had like the release dates on it. We're supposed to get it the first weekend of October on Sunday nights. A little salty about that.
Wow.
Yeah, but the wait has been worth it. It's here. We have been good little challenge fans.
Want to just jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
They dropped 2 episodes at once, which I think is very awesome because, well, I'll come and say it. There's one episode with an elimination, one episode without. If we had just gotten, one without the other, I think it probably wouldn't have been the best opening. But together, these two feel like a real premiere. And to start off the episode, it feels like All Stars again. They show us all the cast in the beginning. We have an old school song playing, and the best thing about All Stars is that it feels familiar. Um, when you watch these new MTV seasons, you get all these faces, you get these dumb spy themes, you get all this stuff that just makes you like wonder what show you're watching. All Stars 4, you see familiar faces, you get good music, and it's just comfortable.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them not taking themselves too seriously. Like we had the montage in the beginning of Cara being the lone star, Tina, Rachel, Veronica being the best friends, Steve being the hand model. Like I will say on MTV, I might be like, this is cheesy with people I don't actually know and care about. But here it's like, whoa, this is cool. This feels like an old school sitcom. Familiarity is just wonderful.
Yeah, it's a callback to how the challenge used to feel, which is exactly what we're looking for in All Stars. It was so refreshing.
And there is always like, even though it's very familiar and comfortable, there is always an excitement factor of when there is someone you don't really know or haven't seen in a long time. That's like a fun surprise. Like when Adam Larson is talking on screen and that guy has not been on a challenge in 20 years, like in like 15, 20 years. And it's like, oh my God, this is a person I kind of know, hasn't been on our like screen in a while. And like he's a pleasant surprise. Kifla the same way. It's like this guy has never really been on this show, but these old school people, especially, like they're trained in the real world way where they know how to talk on camera, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and I want to add Kefla. Like this is how unknown he was to us and everybody because we were calling him Kefla. So glad we know his name now. But Zoe in our cast breakdown was like, he just seems like a cool, badass old man. Immediately got that vibe. Like I am going to be a Kefla fan this season, I think. But you're right, we would never get this opportunity on the main show. So this is really cool.
I'm glad that I picked up on the vibes solely from a picture
Yeah.
and agreed. I'm glad we know his name now because I have a feeling that he might be around for a while. Just a sense.
Just seems like a good dude. The vibes are good, and then TJ just saying all these different names, like, oh, welcome back this person, and then he drops the bomb on them all of what the format of this game is going to be. One winner, which is anyone who followed us during season 39 of the challenge. We were not a fan of the one winner concept. We just think there should be a female winner and a male winner. Plain, cut, and simple.
Get ready because we're going to say we hate it the whole season long. And I hate to jumpstart this podcast because we're always so positive. But it just is lame. And like, if you don't have the finances for it, maybe up the prize pot to 600K and split it to 300 each. I don't know. Or even, I don't know. I don't know. I just hate it.
Well, essentially, there's going to be 6 spots in the final. The winner gets 250,000, and the rest of anyone who finishes the final splits the 50,000 left over. I'm like, you couldn't up it to 400,000, and each winner gets like 175. Like,
And if I go to the final with 6 people and someone gets first and then the 5 of us finish and we're splitting 50,000 taxed, I should have stayed home.
I think part of the reason that we are very anti one winner is that it typically looks like it will disadvantage the women. I think this is the one season where that's not the case because I think the women are much, much stronger than the men on this cast. But I still don't like it. I'm not going to be a total hypocrite in that regard. I think it's a bad idea. I think you always want more than one winner. I just think that it's better for the show.
Yeah. People watch to find out who's going to be the champ for the season, not for, I mean, we watch for the storylines. We love that as well, but it's exciting to be like, oh my God, who's going to win this? Who's going to get this championship? And is it going to be somebody new?
Yeah. Or is it going to be someone cementing their legacy?
Right.
Good to know. You guys already touched on it. Prize pool, only 250,000 for the winner, which it's really disappointing to see. It's just like, I know we got used to those like $400,000 $1 million prize pools like in the past few seasons. Even the most recent season where we ragged on 39, there was like the potential theoretically of like them giving out 500,000. They gave out like I think 370,000, but especially for all these people who are coming out of retirement, only 250,000 on the line. Like you could see their faces when TJ revealed the prize pool. They weren't the most excited by it.
Some of them are probably doing the math like, is it worth it for me to stay here right now?
Yeah. I mean, because if you win, it's definitely the best payout ever. But like knowing that if you get second, it's after taxes, $6,000 at most. You're filming for 6 weeks, maybe for some of them.
Yeah, the only person who was probably excited by like the 250,000 was Adam and Kifla, because they're like back when they were on the show, they were getting like gift cards to Best Buy and shit.
That's true.
Now, something I will note though is I do think compared to season 39, there are some very basic game format stuff for the season that I do think makes it more an even playing field for a one winner type game. So, as we mentioned, there's going to be 6 spots in the final. There is a twist in the season where they're going to be competing for things called stars. There's going to be 3 men and 3 women get stars. They're given out in this first daily challenge, as we're going to see in a bit. But throughout this game, people are going to try and find ways to steal stars from other players, try to find ways to maintain their stars. And it's similar to the skull twist, though I think it puts like a different, I think, political. It changes the political landscape of the game a lot because in the end game, especially like just taking away a star from a power player, like the women can steal a star from a man. And I think that's what makes the game really interesting because if you are like Cara Maria and it's the end game and you can throw yourself into elimination and take away Brad's star, that gives you such a bigger chance to win. And I think just the other way around, if you're Brad, you can steal Cara Maria's star in the end game.
But if you steal from the opposite sex, you have to give it to somebody else from the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Just to clarify. So like she could steal it from Brad and give it to Ryan. And that would be, you're right, such a smart move. But for those that miss that, like that is the stipulation.
Yeah. They can't steal it for themselves, but they can steal it for someone who's a much weaker competitor.
And I do think for like the weaker competitors in the game, they now serve a purpose in the house where, you know, on seasons like Jury 30 and Vendettas, weak players were just thrown into elimination after elimination because people didn't want to run the final with them. Now, if you're a player in this game, you're like, maybe I want to keep Veronica around. So if I can take that person's star, give it to Veronica. I'm sorry for Veronica throwing her name out here, but she's probably not the biggest threat in the final. She's just an example of a person who could get far. Then that increases their chance of winning. There's just a lot of very interesting permutations and then chess moves that I think really fascinate me with this game.
Yeah, and this is no spoiler. It is vague. And if it is a spoiler, I'm sorry. I did not watch the leaked episode. I did. I think it's going to really change how the game is played. That's all I'll say. Like, I think I'm excited about this because it is the skulls just amplified and makes this game more complex.
Yeah, I think it's one of the more interesting things the challenge has done in recent history because we are the number one haters of production sometimes. So for them to actually come up with like a decent idea is refreshing.
We also have a cast who could actually play the game right too, because these are older cast members who know how to play for themselves. We have people who maybe aren't the strongest, but they know how to play the game at least. Whereas I feel like if they did this format in an MTV season, it would just be the Vacation Alliance dominating and people being scared to make moves. Whereas a lot of these people, they're not afraid to make actual game moves and like make big plays or just be dramatic.
They also just don't have a lot to lose in the like future game, because a lot of these people come into these shows with the mindset that they might not or probably won't do it again. So they're not trying to like curry favor with anyone else. So you can see someone go scorched earth in a way that they never would on the flagship show, because they're planning ahead for maybe being on future seasons, and these people aren't doing that. Like Kiefer is not going to be tiptoeing around anybody if he needs a star. Like,
Yeah, and that's crazy that happens. And I about went on a rant, but this is All Stars we're talking about, where that doesn't happen. So yeah, I like it. Like these people have more on the line. It's not like they can bank on for the next 4 seasons. They'll get a $20,000 appearance check to show up twice a year. I mean, that's decent money plus what you make on Instagram and if you win. So yeah, that's a great point.
Ready to talk about that first daily challenge now?
yes.
Okay, which I think does kind of pair into this as well, in terms of game format. And something I'm really happy about is that if you are in the bottom of a daily challenge, you're up for elimination, which is just something we've been crying for because you have to compete. Stakes are there. Season 39, we had a format game where one winner with all these daily challenges where people got to coast by, do nothing. This time around, you're in last and you're probably going to go into elimination, or there's going to be some really tough votes ahead.
We've been asking for it.
And it's such a simple, logical thing to do that makes the show that much more interesting. Like, nobody wants to see a terrible player float through to the end without doing anything. So at least if someone performs terribly consistently in daily challenges, then they have a potential like storyline, and they have to win eliminations to continue on, or they have to have a really good social game, whatever. Like something has to work in their favor. So yeah, it seems like a no-brainer to me, but I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like it's not just the last place person, it's like the last few, and that's who
Yeah.
they pick from. The only problem I have with that is it like you still can get second to last and be really bad, but have good connections, which is part of the game. But I do like when it's straight up, hey, you sucked. Prove yourself now. And that eliminates people being like, I want to save all the good people for the end. It just naturally happens, and we don't have those weird confessionals where we're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But I'll take this for sure. This is very cool.
And when a good player like ends up near the bottom, and it creates some turmoil within the house where are their friends going to save them, or are people going to make a move against them right then and there because it's the perfect
True.
opportunity to.
True.
This first daily challenge was, I think, a pretty simple one. Players had to run up and down a hill. There were 10 sections for them to place stars into a panel with very specific pegs. All the stars were very specifically spiced. Um, the first player to run up and down the hill and get all 10 of their puzzle pieces in the right spot would win the daily challenge. Top 3 got stars. Bottom 4 for each men and women would then be in the losing group up for elimination. That was daily challenge.
I thought it was a great opening challenge. I like that it was minimal strategy. I mean, heavy cardio, but I think that's okay. I think you want your top athletes to come out on top in the first challenge. And there were some people that were really surprising, both in a good and a bad way in this challenge. But yeah, I think it was a great one to start out with.
All the same. And also one that I thought while watching, this is maybe one where I don't want to get top 3, just knowing like what TJ had just told them. But yeah, it was really cool to watch and perfect opener.
Great daily challenges. I think it tells you a lot about who has heart within the house. I just think like it's just not cardio. Like obviously cardio plays a big factor, but the people who just aren't going to give up on themselves with the heat bearing down on them, the people who are going to, because I think a lot of people in that moment just were just folding from the heat. Actually, you want to talk about the losers first?
Sure.
I think the women's side, the losers were sad. Were like I think probably the most expectant people. It was Tina, Veronica, Jasmine, and Flora. They were all very gassed out immediately, and I think
That wasn't even, yeah, that wasn't even a little bit surprising. It would have been actually super surprising if they had not lost. The most surprising aspect of that to me was the woman that was almost in that group was Laurel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how close was the next closest person to finishing it.
I don't think the bottom four were close at all. I think at one point I think Jasmine just basically gave up and was just laying by her puzzles pieces she one of them said their goal was like I just don't want to knock out. I just don't want to pass out. That's my only goal today.
yeah, and I think that this is really telling when people like see these people come back like they lost so much weight. Being thin does not equate to being fit. Like, you know,
No, it does not.
yeah. Like and not I'd hate to call on women's bodies and here I am, so I apologize, but even Tina like says I've lost a bunch of weight, but like did you do it in a way that was like strength training and cardio, or did you maybe go on a diet, or you know, those things don't equate to I'm going to be a good performer.
Yeah, and even women who are in really good shape are sometimes not in good cardio shape. Like,
Right.
It's a very specific skill set or like aspect of your health that you have to train. So, yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
It's not just the women either. It's one person. I'm going to say on the men's side, where before the daily challenge, even when they're at the house, Tyree's listing off since 2013. I've been a personal trainer. I'm trained in this, like flexibility, martial arts, like all this stuff. You know what he's not trained in? Running a mile. Yeah.
Telling the truth, maybe.
Look, I mean, look, look at my gym. There's a lot of guys who look great and they could push a lot of weight, but if they had to run a mile, they'd have a heart attack. And Tyree was just gassed out quickly from this daily challenge, and it's just like he is in much better shape than back in the day, but it's just like looks wise. But man, like he had no cardio whatsoever. So again, to be good at the challenge, you need a baseline ability of cardio.
I think according to him, his cardio had improved. I don't know. I can't be the only one who knows at least a handful of people who vastly exaggerate their abilities, interesting things that have happened to them. Like, I feel like anyone watching this show who's watching Tyree talk knows that person that always exaggerates about themselves and the things that they've done and seen. Because the whole time he was talking, I was like, I'm not buying it. This is not real.
I don't know. Maybe he'll do well this season.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Other people who, yeah. Tyree was very much in that bottom group. Also in there, I think Derek didn't even get a single piece, which was like, I think he just doesn't understand how to put the stars in the puzzle pieces. Like there's no other, I mean, it was really embarrassing because I think Derek is not, I mean, we talked about it before. I don't think he's the worst competitor ever, but it was a bad showing that made him look like the worst player out there. Steve also didn't do well, which was shocking because I think we talked highly of Steve. And the big shocker was Leroy. And Leroy even said in the moment, like, he's one of the strongest people in the house, and Leroy's in great shape. It was just, he just didn't have he couldn't put the puzzle pieces in.
I was glad that both him and Cam both weren't. I mean, Cam's a freaking beast, which you've said, but you know, she said herself, like, I'm coming into this fresh off his baby. Like, I'm glad it was just Leroy, but I was disappointed. He is my winner pick. I feel like he could win the season easily.
I just want to give a shout out to Cam though. She's like still breastfeeding and pumping and stuff. And I think that people are not going to nearly give her enough credit for what she's doing on this show. And it's remarkable. Like, I'm saying this in like the physical aspect, like carrying a baby, having a child is a trauma on your body. Like it is a trauma on your body. And so for her to come back this quickly and then to not fall into that bottom group, I mean, I never would have expected her to, because she's just better than so many of these women here, but she's a stud. She's a star.
I read an interview she just did, and I'm not sure if either of you have read it. I just randomly saw it. But the interviewer asked her, like, did you have any trepidation about coming on because you just had a baby? And she said, yes. But when I had this child, I told Leroy, I told my family, I never want to be that person that says I can't because I have kids. If I have a support system and there's an opportunity and non-mother me would have done it, I want to do it because I want to still have a life and show my kids. You can't be tied to just like one thing, motherhood, being a challenger, being from New Jersey like she is. And I thought that was cool. Like, I love her.
Yeah, that's so cool. Also, on the side note, I might subscribe to her and Leroy's Patreon because they look so entertaining and so funny.
I know. I might subscribe to Zach's. Side note, it seems, but anyways.
Subscribe to this channel if you can as well. Also, just a side note, you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, we're free.
Moving into the winners, though, of the daily challenge, which, again, shocking that Leroy was in that losing group. But moving into the winners, though, first place, far and away, it was Cara Maria, just absolutely crushed it. And it was, I think, a big punctuation of like, I'm Cara Maria. I'm one of the best players this show has ever seen. I haven't been on in 5 years, but I'm going to crush this first daily challenge. I have more cardio. I know how to do puzzles. I'm just good at shit because I'm Cara Maria. I'm one of the best. Kick-ass performance, in my opinion.
She did exactly what she needed to do.
Yeah, there's no bigger bang to start the season off with. She smoked everyone, like not even close. All the men. It was badass. It was a badass performance.
Yeah.
On the men's side, Brad was the very clear number one, which very impressive.
And we kind of predicted that in our cast breakdown too, that Brad was the second best guy last season, if not the best, just not the best the final. So it made sense.
It's funny because like Brad came in first, and I'm like, I expected you to come in first, Brad. Like, why didn't you come in first faster? Like, it was literally, it's to that point of everything Brad is gonna do this season. I'm just gonna look at his competition and just not be impressed. But I was impressed by the second place male, Adam Larson, who I think is carrying himself really well. I think that's been one of the big takeaways I've had so far, because like Adam had his like first confessional, and he's like, when I was on this show, I was really good at the missions and the challenges. And he's not like walking into this water as like some inexperienced guy. He's just like, no, I'm a great competitor. I think I could win this season. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think his TV persona is still cool. Like, even after all these years of not being on, like, he still carries himself really well, like a reality TV star.
Those real world. Like, they just don't make them like that anymore.
Nope.
And I did like the cute moment too, where when Tina asked, what's the hardest challenge you've ever done?" And he was confused, and Veronica had to explain to him, they're not called missions anymore. They're called daily challenges. And just that's how long Adam's been out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sweet. And I appreciate that he is like kind of coming into it with totally fresh eyes while being one of the most OG people there.
Yeah.
It is fascinating too, though, because like when he won, Veronica was like, "Oh, Adam is a number we can use because we have close connections to him, dating back to all that era." And then I think Tina was on his Road Rules season with him too, and Steve. So even though he hasn't been here in a while, he's got some connections, and this performance really did put him on the map. And it's like, okay, other people want to align with him because they see he's a strong player.
Yeah. Time will tell.
Brandon came in third for the men, and really good to see because Brandon has not won many daily challenges in his career, so it's just good to see for him. Like, go Brandon.
Yeah,
I hope he makes it far.
Yeah, I hope he makes it far too. I think he was dealt a rough hand on a lot of his earlier seasons. Not that he's like a rock star on this show, but I think with this cast, he has the potential to do really well. So I hope he hangs around for a while and shows people what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Second place on the female side, I was very happy because in our cast preview, everyone knows I've been so excited for Avery's return, and then I had the big moment where I'm like, what if she sucks? What if she's not a good competitor? She comes in second in this daily challenge, and she looks really fit competitive wise, and I'm happy because, as she said, this is the first time she's ever won a daily challenge in her life.
I was happy, and I won't talk about what we're going to talk about next episode. I'm just going to talk generically. The challenge has posted videos too, and like there was that video of Avery talking about DM and Night, like such a real raw response, and like something I like immediately picked up on just from that video and from these 2 episodes. She's very honest. Like she's not like hiding for the camera. She's not hiding to the people, and I love that because I feel like so many people on the flagship show put on this persona, and she's just like, this is me. And like, I was skeptical too, but this makes me hopeful that like we're gonna get to see a real person. I mean, she might be a recent real world person, but Zoe's right. These real world people know how to be their true authentic selves.
Well, and I was like thinking about Avery because I've always liked her, and typically I don't like people who I don't think are nice to Nani. Like that's just me. And so I was like, why have I always liked Avery in spite of all that? And then she started talking, and I was like, oh, this is why I like Avery. Even though like these are XYZ things I didn't like that she did, I still just like her as a person. Like she has that authentic aura, and she's I think she's going to do really well on this season because she's kind of a lone wolf. So I was really excited to see her not only be in that top group, but to come in second to Cara Maria. Like, that's pretty dope.
It's badass.
Avery is truly a person where you could see the thoughts in their head picture above them as they're talking. Like we could see literally every thought, and something that the honesty factor on X's 2, she was getting flirty with that guy Adam Kuhn, and they asked her like in confessional, like, "Hey, you have a boyfriend at home, right? Would you ever hook up with Adam?" And she was like, "No." And then you could see her face like processing, like, "Well, maybe I would. Like, maybe I like." It's just like she's just so honest to a fault. With like she's just giving her real thoughts.
Yeah.
Third place, Rachel Robinson, which no surprise, she's a beast, and Cara says it in the moment, like that's the person I have to keep my eye on, like because Rachel is, I think, one of the best competitors here.
For sure.
It seemed like a solid top six. It was a semi-predictable top six, and just that I could see all of these people doing well in a cardio challenge. Not as much Adam because I had no idea what to expect from him, but like with the male pool, I was like, okay, this I could see this. This makes sense.
Yeah. I did expect Laurel to be there, but
Laurel bombed out in this challenge.
Yeah.
I kept and watching it as a Nicole hater, I just kept waiting for Laurel to finish, and I was like,
yeah.
finish before Nicole, finish, and then she didn't. I was just like, what, grimacing while I was watching it because I was so pissed.
Yeah.
My dream for this daily challenge was Nicole just not getting a single puzzle piece in, and just her being at the back, like thinking about her own invasion, just like not being able to do the puzzle. Like I was hoping for that, but then I remember we had 4 people who just were dead at the at the bottom of the hill, unfortunately. Um, that was my goal, my hope. A little side note I have too is Tony. In both these daily challenges we've seen so far, I don't get why he's just trying to showboat in every little thing. He's trying to add a little extra flair to everything he does, and it's just been too much for me.
Okay, and I want to point out, I rewatched our cast breakdown because Allan published it last week. I was excited, and Zoe like was like, "I'm not," and I was like, "Well, I'm not now either." And she's like, "Oh my god, I hope I didn't ruin that for you." You didn't. Seeing him back on the screen brought all that back, and it was like, "Oh, you're not, yeah." And like he pulled Veronica's flag instead of his own, and like, yes, he's an idiot, but like, was he also trying to have a moment? Even if he wasn't, it's still just so dumb.
I think it was just dumb. I think he truly was that dumb at that moment. I'm not good at the like equating people to like dog breeds, but in that moment I was like, he is a dopey dog, whatever breed that may be, because oh god, so stupid. And the sliding into the puzzle piece box, like he was sliding into home plate in the World Series, I was like, what is the purpose of this other than giving yourself like road rash? Like, why?
And the whole Tony Tom thing, when somebody else says it's Tony Tom, it's like, okay, haha. But when you self impose that upon us, it's like it's not funny anymore. Like, ugh.
It's on the same level as referring to yourself in the third person. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's so cringy.
Yeah. Like that'd be like us saying it's Luke Tom.
Ugh.
What?
So Jordan is someone who, especially early in his challenge career, would do those little flips and those little flourishes during daily challenges. But Jordan was he's the greatest challenge competitor we've ever seen. So he does all that stuff, and it does get a little bit on people's nerves at times, but he's one of the best. Tony's doing this stuff as very much the youngest guy in the senior division of the challenge, and that to me is what's like really weird about it. Because if he was doing this going against like younger competitors, like okay, maybe it would be less grading, but it's the fact that you're the young guy in the senior division and you're not even coming in first. You're doing all this because you came in sixth place.
Well, you're not coming in as like this huge legacy player. You're Tony, who's won charity season and hooked up with people while you had a girlfriend. He had good moments on Vendettas, but then he lost on Final Reckoning. Like it just, I'm with you. It's gone. Pop, gone.
Welcome to my team.
Yeah.
Any final daily challenge thoughts?
No, just solid.
All right. So we had our winners, we had our losers. Let's move back into the house a bit. Let's talk about Cam and Leroy a little bit more here too. Leroy comes in last place, and so now the goal is they have to protect Leroy from this elimination. And we see Cam talking about it. It's like I got to play a very social game for both me and Leroy to protect him from this vote, but also I'm the young person in this house. I got to build some connections real fast with these people in the house. I love seeing these two as a unit.
I do too. And here's what's cool. I think on a modern seat like flagship season, Cam is immediately seen as a threat. Great social game, so she would probably stay. But a lot of these old school people, you can't tell me they didn't keep watching the show. I guarantee you they're big fans of Cam. Because immediately a married or a engaged couple being there, I'd want one of them gone. But like you don't want to piss off Cam, which we heard them say. And also like you gotta revere them a little bit. They're just cool. So
And
I think they're gonna have a good
yeah, they're challenge royalty at this point, and they just like had a baby. Like they're I think on some level, I can't help but wonder if the cast is like they're also good for ratings. The longer Cam and Leroy stay here, the more people are gonna watch me on TV. Like
completely. I mean, and I'm not saying that like certain people picked out Cam to like have conversations with and screen time with, but like let's just say Jasmine, for example, at some point she does in these 2 episodes. That's smart. That gave her camera time. We talked about in our cast breakdown that Jasmine is kind of shadow in this season because there are just so many prominent characters. Well, she's being smart and talking to them. Now, she probably just likes Cam and is not being performative in her conversation. But like, I like your point, Zoe. Why would you get the ratings out? Like, if you got out Laurel, Cara Maria, Cam, and Leroy off the bat, there's still some cool names, but like, people are going to tune in for those people.
yeah, I think people have to be excited. One, we know that people love Leroy. He's like consistently always like Mr. Congeniality in a challenge house. Like people just genuinely love him. So, and it's not just because he cuts everyone's hair. That is an added bonus. Right. But like, I think they're just excited to probably hang out with the two of them. Like,
yeah.
And I don't think that that's me like imposing my feelings on these people. I bet you a lot of people are excited to get to know them.
Well, and to add to that, I think on the flagship show, like we often see people like, but I've got children and nobody cares. I think because most of these people have children, like you said, Zoe, they know they just had a baby. This is a really big deal for them. Like they're not going to target them probably until the end or unless they have a big reason to because they've done something to them specifically. Like I think people respect that more than the main show.
On a side note, do you guys know this? Was there baby somewhere nearby during this? Because when Cam said something about still breastfeeding, I couldn't help but wonder if like Kingston was there in some capacity, just not in the house, or if it was just like she's just pumping now and freezing for the next however long they're there.
I had the same thought. I think it's a great question. The spoiler people, which who knows, said the baby was in Jersey with Cam's family, or maybe Cam's mom was down in Texas. They said the baby was with Cam's mom, but maybe Cam's mom was on location. Like that'd be pretty cool if they made that happen so they could have Cam.
Yeah, because that's huge for both of them to leave so early. Like as a challenger, like you said, I would have a hard time just wanting to get rid of them immediately, knowing they made that giant decision to be away from their infant.
Yeah, and to go back, if she was pumping and freezing, like were they paying for a shipment like that to be sent back to the U.S.? Because there'd be like if she's there the full 7 weeks, there's no point in saving it.
No, there is.
But like for your child specifically, or to donate?
Potentially. Yeah.
But,
I'm guessing if the child's not with her, I'm guessing she pumped and froze. This is such a very.
I know, but I'm like 7 weeks worth.
Well, I'm guessing that she pumped and froze a lot.
Yeah.
Before she left, and I don't know her baby. I don't know what she's doing, but there could be like a formula effect.
Yeah. I've never known someone to go to formula then back to breast milk, but I see exactly what you mean. Either way, I want to know. So maybe we will be paying for the Patreon and they will tell us.
It's truly fascinating. Like, it's wild that she was able to make this happen. So, like, sorry if people are uncomfortable with the conversation of breast milk, but this is really incredible that they were doing this.
Right. Look at biology, folks. This is what breasts are for. They make food sustenance for babies. Get past it. Okay. Anyways,
I love the 2-minute the talk of the logistics of camps. Like, are they freezing it and shipping it over?
I'm intrigued.
A conversation I will say that intrigued me because Cam's conversation with Ayanna at the beginning of the episode when she says, "I'm looking at a challenge champion," and Cam took that as her saying that she sees her as a challenge champion, like as someone who's going to win the season. I kept watching that scene because I fully believe Ayanna just thinks Cam has won a challenge championship before, and Cam just misinterpreted in a good way to not embarrass Ayanna.
I thought the same.
I think that Cam picked up on it and quickly was like, let me not embarrass her and say, in my confessional, she sees me doing this one day. That's such an honor. Ayanna did not mean it that way.
I'm just glad I'm not crazy because I was watching that scene and I rewinded it even. I was like, because the way Ayanna was saying it with the conviction she was like, oh, she 100% thinks Cam is like Killer Cam because she's like a multi-time champion already.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's how I
it. No, and as Cam said, like, and you're talking about her in the daily challenge earlier, like just cruising through it. Killer Cam is a mindset. Like she talks about it, and I think about her rookie season on Vendettas, where she's even talked about how she didn't train going into Vendettas, and she got thrown into eliminations that weren't even like the one against Natalie that wasn't to her skill set. Yet she had the mental toughness to work through it. I think about her elimination with Ashley on Double Agents, where that elimination is probably more tailored to Ashley's strengths, but Cam, her brain worked through that elimination for her to win. Like she's a great mental competitor, and also like just the way she's gonna work through this game with Leroy, I'm really excited to see. Especially like her leaning more on her brain makes her a bit more dangerous TV wise.
It's fun to see someone not be a mindless follower who hasn't been running the game for seasons after seasons after season. So we're all Team Cam.
Yeah.
Now let's move into that first vote right now. And Cam protected Leroy. A lot of people were protecting Leroy because, you know, they're on his side. And then the other contingent was trying to protect Derek. So you had Ryan, who I think really went to bat for Derek, and he even said, well, we couldn't even tell who really came in last in the daily challenge because they didn't really say someone came in last, even though it was very clearly Derek. Yeah. Avery went to bat for him as well. And a lot of people are Derek's friends on this cast. So in the end, those were the two people who got saved. But what did you think about the overall male deliberation?
Expected. I mean, I said it earlier, but I like that people in their confessionals were like, "We're not going to make Cam mad." I'm like, what?
I think it was funny. Some people were really hoping it wasn't going to go based on connections and relationships. Because, like, what? You're you're delusional. You're in denial. I think, like, firmly in denial that was going to happen. I was, like, watching Tyree, like, expecting these people to put Leroy in over him. And I was like, you're just gearing yourself up to get angry. You're going to get mad. Like, that's it.
And also it ties back into them being cognizant of people watching the show. Like if you go on a main season now, who are you going to throw in? Tori Deal or some rookie from Denmark? Like you're going to throw in the rookie from Denmark just because you're scared that Tori has fans that might attack you for making that move. Like it doesn't really make sense. And I felt bad for Steve because he was the other person voted in too. But he'd been on All Stars 2, I guess, but like that still wasn't enough to reimmerse him into this game.
Not with such a like mix of people on this season either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that being there with specifically Leroy and Derek, Leroy is very well protected, and Derek has a lot of friends. So
yeah,
Steve really just had that trio of like OG girls, and the winners couldn't vote, right?
Right.
So that took some people off the table, like Adam and Rachel, for example.
I don't know. That's just also a format thing. Like, I can't believe the winners don't get any power to vote. It's all the middle group, which I think I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. That it's like the people in the middle are being rewarded with power in this situation of like that seems like a lot.
Seems like an oversight.
It is until you realize the twist that we get at the elimination. It's still an oversight, but that's how they compensate for it that way. But yeah.
Yeah, and as we get to the elimination arena, and TJ offers Brad the opportunity to go into the elimination as the #1 winner of the daily challenge, which I do think like that's where it punishes like Adam and Brandon for not getting the same opportunity. He only gave Brad the shot to do it.
But in episode 2, it was different. So I think it's just because they all had stars regardless. That was more so him saying, here's the format, because in what world would Brad actually go down and risk his current star? I think that was just to explain to the audience. But I see what you're saying. But I think that's not going to be the rule all season. We know it's not because we saw in episode 2. But
yeah. And I do love the twist that the winner can go down there, especially where if they see it's the perfect elimination and they could either sabotage, take their star, or get the star for themselves. I like that because it's a good risk factor. You can play the game smartly that way. And for some of these people, if it's like, if you're a Laurel, you could beat most people in almost any elimination. And you could really just mess up the game that way. Like if you want to just come in and just wreak chaos or take out one of your biggest threats.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're someone like Rachel that's working to protect more than yourself, and you can go in a situation and get another star and protect someone that's going to be at risk, because it's not going to be long before her friends are at risk.
Yeah.
So the elimination. Zoe, you want to describe it?
Yeah, sure. There is a disgusting, murky little kiddie pool full of water, and they have to collect 10 rubber balls that have a star on it, but and they're getting blasted out of a cannon intermittently, so there's not that many stars to be found. Once they find those stars, they have to find them one at a time and put them in their little
container.
Sure. And the first person to get 10 balls with a star on it in their container wins.
What do you guys think of the elimination as a whole, like just the general concept?
Okay.
I think it was fine. Yeah. I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was made more interesting by Steve, frankly, because I thought he was brilliant. And yeah.
Steve, especially like he talks in the Daily Challenge where he did All Stars 2, lost that elimination to Tech, and then got himself back in shape, which apparently he lost 35 pounds. And I mean, he's looking great, got himself in great shape. And he also talked really personally about the fact that his hand modeling career kind of isn't going that great. So he really needs to win. Like, he's really here to compete. I was going to feel real bad if he lost 35 pounds to compete on the show. His career isn't doing well, and then he lost to Tyree. That would have been really, that would have been a rough edit to watch.
Yeah. As expected, though, you just alluded to it. Tyree, this is his how many times going out first? His third? It is his third. I checked today. I'm pretty sure.
What's his fourth? Or I guess not like episode 1, but this is his fourth time. He's been the first.
The first male boot.
He's been
yeah,
the first,
you're right.
Yeah.
Hang it up.
I mean, it is a fitting end for someone that I feel was using extreme hyperbole to describe who he is as a person.
By the way,
no, it's poetic, truly.
Yeah, and we're not using extreme hyperbole when we say he's been first boot 4 times. That is true. To be cast on the challenge 4 times is a feat within itself. To be cast 4 times and be first boot is insane. Logistically, it's impossible, but yet he has defied all odds.
Yeah. That's like a special kind of bad.
And this loss had to hurt the most for him too, because during this elimination, obviously Steve comes up with the idea of he's just going to store balls away, keep them for later. Tyree has a massive lead, and everyone is thinking, Tyree, you're finally getting your first elimination. He's hyping himself up. He's so happy. He's so optimistic. Steve gets ball after ball after ball, and when Steve gets his final ball, he looks at Tyree, gives him a little salute, and Tyree he looks so devastated.
I do hate it for him because I can't imagine being amped. Years later, they want me back. I'm going to go do this thing. I have a chance. I'm a personal trainer. I've got all these accolades in his head. And then to be the first boot. And to probably know I'll never get this opportunity again.
Nor should he. I mean, honestly, I kind of want to see him back again because I would love to see him eliminated first again. Would be amazing.
And I could see a second chances type season, but even then, I think there's so many better options. I mean, maybe he's the best option because he's got the worst trajectory on the show thus far. But I don't need it.
It's like a funny bit at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be down for the bit to continue one more time.
Yeah, let's make it 5.
Yeah.
Which I almost said on All Stars 5. Maybe we'll get that soon. It's rumored, but I don't want to say that because when this was rumored, this show, we are in separate years. So, anyways, what's next?
Yeah, Steve wins the Daily Challenge, or Steve wins the elimination, and he decides with his power he is going to steal Brandon's star, which is, I think, a clear move. You don't want to anger Brad, and Adam is his homie, so he steals Brandon's star, and I think it's probably it's the least consequential move he could make. It's gonna be fun though when 2 people with actual beef and actual drama start getting into it, because Brandon isn't gonna, he might steal Steve's star back at some point, but it's gonna be the least dramatic thing possible. Once some of these star stealings get more messy, the show is gonna get a lot better.
You know what I'm most excited for? Someone who has a star to get last in a daily and get voted in, they maintain their star and steal from someone else. That's messy. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I think we're going to see so many stars stolen in the course of this season because, there's really no point in being desperate to get one early. Because there's so much time left.
Yeah.
And they're going to be just bouncing around. If anything, it kind of puts a target on your back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the fact that there's one winner and they know it's one winner, it's not just the fact that you could steal from your own gender. I'm just being like, Brad, you're never having a star in this game. unless you got to go into elimination. Because I don't want to face you in the final. We know who you are. Like, I'm not letting you have a star. If you're a guy in the house too and you have a star, Cara Maria, I never want you to have a star because you've proven to beat men in finals before.
Yeah, simple as that.
Let's move into the next daily challenge. All right. Next daily challenge, which was players got put into a car, lifted in the air, twirled around, make them all dizzy. And then TJ is just throwing out these elaborate, like these coded messages via air horn. And then they have to do math to unlock a bunch of suitcases. Once they unlock all their suitcases, they have a bunch of puzzle pieces they have to then put together. It's a very simple puzzle, but it's essentially, can you do math is the daily challenge.
Can you pay attention?
Yes. There's some very
basic math. This is not hard math, kids. This is basic arithmetic they're doing here. I'm convinced this challenge was thought up just because they wanted to stick Laurel and Nicole in a band together. That is the sole reason for this challenge.
I was about to say the same thing. They are in teams, and these teams are never truly random. Like, unless it's schoolyard pick, which we want to see, these teams are never random. Because the fact that Laurel and Nicole were together, give me a break. Like, they knew what they were doing.
It was interesting too because they gave Nicole her two like best friends in the house too. So that's what makes me think this was just actually picked. I think they actually, I don't know, like because like, or I don't know.
It might have been random to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, been like, okay, shuffle them up, but let's switch these people. Make sure that these two are in a band together. Something like that, because there's no way that was random. There's been so much like foreshadowing and alluding to the tension in their relationship, and there's just they're a ticking time bomb, and production wanted to speed it up.
For sure.
Now this team in this daily challenge didn't win, but I was very impressed by Leroy doing math, and he talked about it. Like, coming into the season, I practiced my math a bunch. Everyone, look at me. I could add, I can multiply now, like, which I'm super happy for. After that first daily challenge, I was worried about our guy Leroy. Daily challenge 2, he can do math now. Big development after 15 years. Like, which we were talking about in the previous podcast when he did double agents. His swimming showed improvement. His puzzle solving showed improvement, which Leroy was already a good competitor when he couldn't do stuff like that. Now that he can, like, maybe Luke's winner's pick is back on.
Time will tell.
Yeah. The bar's on the floor, but I was also impressed. It wasn't hard, but I'm glad to see that Leroy could do it, because some people really struggled with it.
Which we should go into the losers real quick. We had a losing team that was Janelle, Derek, Ryan, and Jasmine. And
which, again, this doesn't seem random to me. Like the grouping. Sorry, we just said that, but like, I'm refreshing. Yeah.
Even going into that daily challenge, Janelle was like, "Ooh, I know math the best on my team. That's not great for this team's chances." And like, she's smart, but it's like, I got 3, sorry to say it, idiots on my team.
Yeah, I love the self-awareness to know that, like, I'm not good at math, so my team's counting on me. This is not going to be good.
Yeah.
And then there was another team that came in, I think the bottom, which was a 3-person team, which I think that put them at a disadvantage, but having 3 people, I mean, do you think it put them at a big disadvantage?
I mean, the team that won basically had 3 people.
That's why I wondered that factor, because I would say one of the people on that 4-person team was more of a setback that actually, hurt them.
So
who was the 3-person team? Remind me.
Tina, which is why there were only 3 females up for elimination, and then it was 2 men, and I think it was Steve and someone else who was actually pretty smart. I was surprised they came in last, actually, because like Tina's pretty, like, she was good at puzzles back in the day. So I like, Steve's pretty smart too. So I was stunned that team came in last.
I think that they suffered from not having a good strategy. Like
Mhm.
one of them should have just hung by the van and listened. They were having a hard time recalling all the numbers going together, and they just, instead of sending someone to just listen, they were trying to remember and solve it. And I think that was what really hurt them, if I remember correctly.
The team that did win, though, it's Laurel, Nicole, Jay, and Tony, which a lot of the win goes to two people. Laurel for her baseline knowledge of math, but then Jay was knocking down numbers left and right. I mean, Zoe, you're going to quickly say it's not hard math at all. It wasn't. But considering how much some of these people were struggling, Jay didn't do too bad.
Gold star, not literally, but he did it. I think Laurel, I give her more credit too, because she was just captaining the ship, which Nicole had to make a passive aggressive comment about her needing to be in charge. But I think she was just organizing her team in a way that a leader does.
Yeah. And like, you want to win. So what, like, I don't know. The jabs are just odd. They make good TV. I get it, but
I mean, they weren't going to win with Nicole over there trying to do math. Like, let's be real.
right. And I can't even take these jabs seriously because, not a spoiler, we've seen in the promo, like, they're going to start doing their thing again. Like, it just, their whole thing just, ugh, gross.
Do you want to jump into that?
Yeah,
No.
they win, and it's hilarious because they get in a fight immediately afterwards, and because Laurel does the hilariously mature, like, la 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 la, with her ears covered, I can't hear you, which honestly I thought was hilarious, and that's exactly how I feel whenever Nicole starts talking. So same. But it also upsets Nicole in the way it would upset a third grader when their friend does that to them on the playground. So it was just so fitting, the whole scenario.
I have an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to save it until I see more. But mark my words, something's off. But that's all I'll say right now.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm so invested in this Jay Mitchell. I'm just so invested in Jay because I just ever since he got casted, I can't stop laughing at the fact they brought him back after all these years. And he talks about, I mean, his opening scene where people are making fun of him about it, and he's talking about his comeback, and he mentions like, I never came in last in a daily challenge. Like I'm actually not a bad player. And then I've seen him compete. He's not bad at all. He's not wrong. It's been small sample size, but like I feel happy, like, because I don't think he's bad at all.
Oh no, I don't think he's nearly as terrible as some other people who've been on the show. I think he's an embarrassing person.
Well, and I think too, even if he had been given the opportunity to come back after that season with Jenna, he never would have been like a top performer. Like,
No.
he would have fizzled out shortly after. So again, this is like a funny joke for right now. But like, is it going to continue causing me to care? Who knows?
I mean, it's hard. It was more so not being able to take him seriously as a person, crying over the drink in the final, and also thinking that at ever in any point in his life he was too good for Jenna is mind-boggling. Like, the fact that he was the one cheating on her and treating her like garbage, and then immediately was humbled when they showed up for X's 2, because like Zach is Zach, but she's like arguably then the target of like the hottest guy in the house. Like that he's a joke to me on so many levels.
Can you refresh with me that season? He wasn't hooking up with somebody.
He was.
John A.
That's what I was about to say. I didn't want to say that loud. Oh
And
my
I
gosh.
think John A started doing it just to get at Zach, but Zach didn't care. And so it was like embarrassing for everyone watching.
What season did John A hook up with Jordan?
Jordan, free agents.
Rivals
Okay.
2.
Oh, Rivals 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was the same season, but yeah, okay. Funny.
Because Jordan had John A. and Sarah the same season.
Anyway.
Yeah,
So
anyway,
I just
Jay
think
Gotti.
I think Jay is just an embarrassing human being. That's really what it comes down to.
I'm hooked. I'm sorry. It's just I just want to see him do. I've seen so many people shit on him for years, including myself. But every time he does something good, I'm just amazed. It's just
I'm much more invested in this Laurel Nicole storyline, honestly, because I like hate it, but I can't stop watching. Like I want to jump through the screen and like bop Laurel on the head, honestly, for even talking about Nicole. But yeah.
Well, what I was going to say earlier, and I'm not faulting Laura, I'm not shaming her, but like I wouldn't even give someone attention if I knew that they were so toxic to my life. I wouldn't feed into it. If I knew something was going to set them off, I would not do it. I do think there is a part of Laurel that likes to get that reaction, not because she wants to be with Nicole, but because she likes maybe one-upping her. But that to me shows that there's a level of immaturity there. Great for TV, great for TV. But like if someone in my real life bothers me like that, I truly do not speak to them. I know it's hard in the house, but there are people I see every day of my life that I do not enjoy being around. I don't say a word. You interact with me, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, you pretend they don't exist. Laurel's chaotic.
Yeah.
And I do think there is a very fine line between love and hate.
Yes.
And Laurel is hating Nicole a little bit too much for it not to be based in some very raw feelings underneath the surface.
Yeah.
shout out to the challenge editors though for that like 30-second extended scene of Laurel eating breakfast and Nicole doing her protein shaker bottle and literally just shaking. We had to listen to the ASMR of the protein bottle shaking for like seemingly forever.
I was like, why are you standing there while this is happening? Like, Nicole is trying to make it out like Laurel's crazy. And this is how I know that Nicole is toxic and evil. Because a normal person who really was trying to avoid their ex would not have stood there shaking their protein shake that entire time. She could be doing that anywhere. But where did she choose to be? In the freaking kitchen. That was intentional. You can't convince me otherwise.
For sure. I just want to see how this plays out. I don't want to speak too much on their dynamics just because I think that I might err in something that I say. But I am skeptical about a lot of things.
I'm gonna pick your brain as soon as we're done with this podcast. So
Okay.
Luke's not the only one. We had people stirring the pot because after this daily challenge win, there's the concept of, hey, Laurel could step down and go into elimination. And someone's like, well, if it's a balls in, would you step down and throw in yourself against Nicole? And Laurel's immediately like, hell yes, I would.
Yeah. Still that fine line of love and hate. Like she hates her so much that like she just wants any interaction she can get with her and to like put her in her place. But then for what?
yeah, it makes me so uncomfortable.
I wish she were indifferent because I think that would make Nicole spiral more. And we've seen Laurel be indifferent. She does it to Michelle quite often, where she's just like, okay, whatever. I wish she could do that to Nicole because that would still be dramatic. Nicole would still have her reaction, but Laurel wouldn't seem like it's like picking away at her. Much different. Someone you've dated for years versus Michelle. But like, I don't know. I want to stop talking about it, to be honest.
Hey, this is very out of nowhere, but we didn't cover the reunions. Laurel was obsessed with Michelle during those challenge reunions where she was taking every chance she could to throw Michelle under the bus in that reunion.
Until it came to Callum.
Except when it came to Callum. I will say that was good. But she was talking about like, oh, Michelle's the way she's playing the game was like wrong, etc. And the cast member was like, wait, Michelle had a real shot to win.
Yeah, and she called her Nicole. Like that was the most like bizarre slip.
Are Nicole and Michelle friends?
No.
Okay. Because I know that like incestuous like New York, New Jersey crew can.
Staten Island, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Staten Island, y'all are great. This is not hate from me. A little incestuous. You're an island. It makes sense.
They just become friends by default because they're all there, and I'm like, why are we hanging out with Nicole Zanata anyway? Some people don't deserve friends. That's just how I feel.
All right, out of the Nicole Laurel stuff, let's move into some other drama. Not even drama. Someone who's actually actively trying to avoid drama is Janelle when she tells everyone like, "Hey, I would like to be thrown into elimination, and whoever you throw in against me, I will face them in elimination. I really don't care who it is, but I would like an opportunity to go get a star."
This breaks my heart.
Me too. I really like Janelle. Like, I think that she is so real and down to earth, but like, she like has a backbone. She's just like everything I like in a TV personality. I just there's manipulation on the challenge that feels like gameplay and feels fun and feels interesting, and then there's manipulation just to be mean, and that's what it felt like happened to Janelle in this episode. It really just felt targeted and mean because it was too early on, and these are Janelle's actual friends that people are trying to damage her. One person is trying to damage her relationships with, and I thought it was hard to watch.
Yeah, and to me, it read that Janelle, like, I think she's a great mom. I think every mom there is a great mom, sure, but I think Janelle really is a great mom. And I think that the way she viewed it was, I'll go in and get my star. And if I get it, that's wonderful. If I don't want to go home, at least I have stock to stay here if I have a star. And she also wanted to make it easier because, like you said, she has real friends that are on the show. And what unfolded after?
She was just trying to play the game.
Yeah.
It's also like a factor of like, well, Tina and Jasmine, neither of them are really big threats in elimination, so it doesn't really matter who goes in here. And even if Laurel or Nicole steps down, Janelle knows like, well, I'm a challenge champion. I beat Jody last season, so I could theoretically go up against anyone if worst comes to worst. She just wanted to do that, no stakes, no drama, and instead Ayanna takes the word against her. And I think one of the wildest comments Ayanna says is that you're not gonna get something with like I'm not gonna give you something without getting something back. And it's like what? She's not asking for it. She's just saying throw her into elimination. Just
she's one of the eligible options.
That she's making her play. She's saying, I would like to go in. Whoever you put against me, that's it. Like, she's just playing the game. All the other people in this elimination have the option to do the exact same thing. She's the only one doing it. Ayanna openly admits on camera that she's making all of this up, that Janelle is like petitioning for Jasmine secretly, which she's not. There's camera footage and every single person backing her up saying that she never said that. It felt grimy.
Touching thing to talk about, and we said in the cast review, due to Ayanna's current state, we would never wish harm on her. Like, none of this matters in terms of what she's going through. As a character on a reality TV show, like, I would rank her at the bottom right now. And it might just be because I like Janelle and like we've heard rumors of such, but like it just seemed vindictive. It wasn't like there was no stock in it being a game movie. It just was to be mean.
It was weird. It was just really weird.
And I do feel like people are going to like Janelle used the word bully, which often like people are like, they're not a bully, blah, blah, blah. I think that Janelle was being bullied. Like she was at a place of low defense because she was at risk to go in. She had friendships that were being jeopardized. And like even Tina, who I like at some point was pushing Janelle a little bit too far about like, what did you say? What did you not say? After she had repeatedly said, here is all that I said. I can't tell you any further.
To have your friends question your integrity is hard, especially when you know you're right and you know you're telling the truth. It was very unnecessary, and honestly, even just from a game perspective, it was too big of a thing to do for very little outcome and so early in the game. Like, all this is doing is putting an enormous target on Ayanna's back because people now know that they can't trust her.
It's also insane because like it's not like she won anything. It's not like she was the daily challenge winner. She was just one of the 12 people in the middle group. She was just one of the not people who didn't finish last. Maybe if she was in power and she had the sole vote, something like this would make a little more sense. It's just she's just one vote in a group of X amount of people. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And to call back to her drama with Jody on her previous season, the salad, like I know that it was funny, but like even looking back, like that is something that's just so petty to take someone's food and to like laugh about it and joke about it. And I think that being on the show can bring out the worst in people. I think some people come onto the show already not needing to be on reality TV.
If you're like already a bit cracked, and this show will exacerbate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure in real life she's not like lying on her friends and things like that. But like, I also don't know. But you're right. Being on the show might make you do things that you don't want to, or that you didn't think you would, or that you didn't. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but it's really difficult considering this seeming like a pattern.
Well, go ahead.
It's really difficult when Janelle's crying on the couch and in the background you see Ayanna dancing, literally dancing because she's caused this woman pain.
Yeah, that's the thing. It felt so cruel and mean. Like it's all because of this weird thing that she's carrying over from Janelle that doesn't even like with Janelle from their last All-Star season together. It never needed to be a thing at all. Like it's actually like again this like inflated sense of self-importance, like thinking that you're more interesting than you are.
Which we see more of that. And I think to carry on this conversation, it's only natural to talk next about the deliberation because there's more to talk about this Ayanna situation, but I don't want to get out of turn. We get to the deliberation. It is what it is. Like the thing that stands out most, just to carry on with the same vein, is Ayanna making faces, Ayanna making side comments, but when it's Ayanna's turn to speak, it's actually hilarious seeing the people's faces. Like she drones on and on and on and on and contradicts herself. And finally, Leroy, who's one of the many people who's been making faces, is like, what are you even talking about? And then she goes in on Leroy in a way, like acting like he's calling her out of her character when he's just the only vocal person to say, you're talking nonsense.
He was saying what everyone was thinking.
Yeah.
Leroy's like too real to, I mean, I think he sat there for what it seems like was 30 to 45 minutes of this.
Mm-hmm.
Pure garbage.
And I love that they let him break the fourth wall. Like when he went up to talk to the winners, he's like, I can't do this shit. Like even the cameramen are looking at me being like, make her stop. Like I love they left that in there because like they typically don't do stuff like that. But I think production probably left that in there because it was so awful. They probably still have PTSD from that moment.
The way
I do not understand why everyone just didn't get up and leave. That's what I would have done. I would have just been like, I'm not listening to you anymore. Whoever you vote for, I don't care, but this is ridiculous. You're not wasting my time. Did she actually say something about reclaiming her time, or am I imagining that?
No, she did. She did. And then she said that Leroy was being disrespectful to Ace, or I think it was Ace's time. And Leroy was like, I'm being disrespectful to Ace's time. Like,
you could tell Leroy was actually paying attention to what she was saying because the moment she contradicted herself, that's when he broke. He's like, because he'd been on the string the whole time, and then she's like, everything this woman is saying is just bullshit. It just is. I did laugh a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I was laughing a lot watching this whole moment, as like awful as it was, because it was just a real moment in the house. And what's funny is that the losers are not in the deliberation area, and if they were, I imagine that at a certain point, Tina would have just been like, "Just put me in, Ayanna. Just stop fucking talking."
yeah.
I was slack-jawed during the whole thing. Like, I literally just was like, is this not ending yet? No one's going to say anything? Nope. Okay.
Yeah. And the vote ended up being Jasmine and Janelle. Oh.
Tina and Janelle.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Which actually spins me off in my next point. I'm stunned that Tina was the house vote, which Jasmine has a lot of friends, but a lot of it comes with the fact that I just assumed, and it's the larger point, that Veronica, Rachel, and Tina, because whenever they've been on a show together, they've ran a house. I was expecting it to be the same way coming into this season and them to be running the game politically. Nope, Tina got voted in very easily, and I don't think they have the numbers like we thought. I think they're more outsiders.
I think we mistake that with a lot of like these female alliances. We think they're tight. Do I think that Amanda, Sylvia, and Ashley still would be? Absolutely, but that's recency. Like I think of Kim Spradlin, Chelsea, uh, and the other two, Alicia and Kate from Survivor, whatever season Kim won. Like they still hang out regularly.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you if I've ever seen the Mean Girls post a picture together that they've intentionally met up to hang out and do things together. Like I think nostalgia is weighing heavily on us to think that they have this strong connection.
I think they have a strong connection. I just don't think it extends to everyone in the house. I think that they have. I don't think that they're like best friends. I think I agree with what you're saying, Luke. I think they also are in like opposite corners of the country, right?
Yeah.
Like all of them are completely spread out, so that's normal. But I just don't think they have the influence over the house that I may have expected them to have. But I don't even know if I did expect that.
Yeah, I don't see Veronica risking her game for either of the other two. I don't see Rachel doing that. I could see Tina maybe doing it, but like, I don't know.
Rachel would be crazy too. And I don't think there would ever be a reason for Veronica to risk her game for Rachel because there's nothing Veronica can do better than Rachel.
True. Fair.
I'm gonna actually veer on the side of I actually think they're supremely close because like they posted like kind of their group chat texts over the years all the time. Like I think they are very close, and I think the closeness factor is actually what's hurting them because they're reunited and being friends, and instead of socializing around the house, they've just put themselves on the outside the same way that other alliances have, like Kayla and Jenna, like Kendall and Kellyanne. And so when you're with your friends, you're not really going around to all these different places. And I mean, they were loyal to her in that vote. And I think like they went up to Avery kind of as a group and told Avery, hey, if you vote on our side, you know, Tina maybe won't steal your star. Avery was like, well, no, Avery didn't because she wasn't going to get Storm Arm like that. But also, Jasmine is very close to Derek, and Derek and Avery are like best friends. So that wasn't going to be the case. But it is interesting to watch.
I think it's really telling to every clip we see of them, they're all together. It goes along with what you're saying, Allan, that they're not like spreading out and mingling and trying to develop more relationships and more allies. They're just hanging out together.
Mm-hmm. Which again, I think it ties into Veronica's has said this. She doesn't care. Like to her, she really is like, I'm vacationing with my two friends. Why would I talk to Flora, who I do not care about? Why would I talk to Steve, who I might not ever, well, she likes him, but think of another guy. Why would I talk to this person who I don't really care for? I think that's partly why too, that like they're not going to make big risky game moves right now or like put themselves out there because this extends their vacation with one another.
And also, being 3 people versus 2 is a bit different because last season we saw Veronica attach herself with Tina to the alliance with Kayla and Jemmy, and they kind of built their alliance group. And Veronica was playing that season pretty hard. I mean, she threw John A into a couple of those last eliminations before she got injured. So this time around, though, she's just going to take a backseat to Rachel.
Yeah.
All right. Fortunately, we do not get the elimination between Tina and Janelle because Janelle chooses to quit. And I just want to say, like, there's a lot of stuff said here or there. Whatever we saw in this episode, just know that it's 1/100th of whatever actually happened. That's all I'm gonna say. It's 1/100th of like whatever went on. People were really sad that Janelle quit because they weren't mad she did, but they were sad it happened. And I'm not gonna give Janelle any grief over it because whatever we saw was nowhere near what actually happened.
Yeah, and if
I
you're considering giving Janelle grief, I would encourage you to try to like dig deep and look into what happened. Allegedly, because who knows, but also like lots of people backed up what happened. I think Janelle had every right to leave, and I think that her character and morals were being compromised by being in the house, and she was being attacked as a human and a mother. And I don't fault her at all, and I hope she gets called back for All Stars 5 if they have it, because I think that she did not get a fair shake on this season, and it's pretty unfortunate.
I think the reactions of the rest of the cast to her leaving tells you everything you need to know about the circumstances under which she left. I think the fact that everyone was sad and no one was giving her grief, even TJ, when he announces that she left in the elimination arena, doesn't give any sort of quitter speech, which you know he loves to do. I
Mhm.
think that she had very valid reasons for leaving. And I really hope that we get to see her again in the future under different circumstances because I think she was kind of robbed.
Cosign. Janelle's out. TJ announces that there's not going to be an elimination, and he just gives. Oh, does he give Laurel and Nicole the out?
Well, he says, "Here's the elimination. Laurel and Nicole, do you want to come down here?" To which I honestly thought one of them would have.
I
But
think
both,
it was memorizing a sequence, and
which Laurel
I
just lost at that. Yeah,
and Nicole, give me a break. Her brain is
Yeah.
firing on like 1 out of 13 cylinders. So Nicole's not going into any sort of mental elimination against Tina, who's an arguably smart person.
yeah.
And Laurel, I think, also knows it's way too early in the game for her to risk it on an elimination that's not a guarantee for her.
When it could be a physical. I think you're right. So I'll backtrack. I think people will be upset about this next thing, but TJ says, "All right, that's a forfeit. Tina, you win this elimination." But I also think it shows the winners that, like, if by chance this were to happen again, like, there is some stock in being down here. Like, so Tina gets her star, and I really wasn't even surprised with whose star she stole.
She's afraid of Cara Maria, right? She's not going to take it from Cara. She's never taking it from Rachel. There's only one option left, unless she were to steal it from a guy and give it to a different guy, which what's the point? I don't even think this is a benefit for Tina at this point, which the person she steals it from, Avery, says, because there's so much time left in this game. And Tina is someone who's going to probably lose a daily challenge again. So I don't think she's going to be holding on to that star for long.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this game moves from here, because these All-Star seasons have not been like that many episodes in total. And if we go on this one elimination to pace pattern, a lot of people might just get purged out at one point. Like that's the only way I could see the game moving, unless we move to a double elimination format. Because we're now 2 episodes in, we got probably 8 episodes till the final. So you don't want to throw yourself into one of these early eliminations because you could still get your star stolen. But you also have to time it perfectly of when you can put yourself in there to get a star.
I wish they would do that, actually, purge people out, because so many of the main seasons where there have been skulls or shields or whatever, like TJ has threatened, get your whatever, or you're going to be kicked out, and it never happens. They all get their chance to go in. I wish they'd say from the jump, there will be this many eliminations. If you don't have it by then, you're out the door. Because I think that too adds like a level of just stress to the game.
Yeah.
The episode ends though, and holy cow, do we get a good trailer for the rest of the season, even if it's just based off the first 10 seconds alone.
I just have to say this because it will. I don't think it'll shock you at this point, but the thought that came into my brain, I have to share. I literally was watching the trailer and I was like, "Am I gonna end this season being Team Cara Maria over Laurel?"
Yeah.
I think I'm just getting old, and that's really watching some of that stuff as an adult was kind of hard. And I really was left to thinking, I think I'm gonna be Team Cara Maria at the end of the season.
That'd be a big move for you. That would be probably the biggest change in your adult life.
Truly.
I think you actually may be. I think that Laurel. Oh God, I'm gonna speak pretty harshly about Laurel, and I know that Zoe's a big fan, and a lot of people are too. I think that Laurel has a lot of unchecked tendencies, just because she is this strong, domineering woman who can dominate a game like this. She can go unchecked, but like part of being a good human is being able to say, this person should not have this much of a hold on me. Cara and Laurel have seemingly got along thus far. They got along, just yeah.
I buckle up because I just think we are in for a crazy ride this season.
Yeah.
All Stars 4, it's finally here. We're finally podcasting about it. It's got an interesting format, familiar faces, a lot of drama. We're only 2 episodes in. We're gonna have ourselves a hell of a season, and we're gonna be recapping it here. Caffeine Confessionals. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple. There's a lot coming here.
Yeah.
Have a great week, everyone.
I know.